Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Mark Ellis.
Welcome one and all to the best movie news show in the entire galaxy. My name is Mark. Hope you guys had a great weekend. On today's show, it continues to break records, and Star Wars The Last Jedi, well, now it's sealed off and being examined by top men. Ashley, I am a huge fan of everybody on the panel today, but their names escape me.
Well, the first one up is Jeremy John.
Happy Monday, Mark.
Good to see you.
Energetic Monday. Welcome.
Look at that jacket.
Perry Nemiroff, how do you feel?
Hi. I'm feeling pretty good, too. Rested up a little this weekend. I admired a certain someone's box jump skills that I can never match. So, yeah, it was great.
Also here, Christian Harloff.
Oh, boy.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, good to see you, too. Haven't seen that movie yet. We have a lot of cool news to get to today, but before we get to this beautiful rundown right next to me, we are going to talk about a couple new trailers dropped this morning. So the first one we're going to get to is the Maze Runner 3, The Death Cure trailer. It's just dropped, and it's got Dylan O'Brien. The whole gang is back for more maze running action, of which I kind of forgot what the initial plot is. Perry, when we put on that trailer this morning, we're like, hey, they're looking for a cure. And then we looked at each other like, what are we trying to cure again?
Yeah, that is kind of the problem, and it's not their fault about releasing this movie so far after the second one, is that at least in the books, the event of the next book, it picks up right after what happened in the previous book. And even though I read The Death Cure, I'm watching this trailer and I'm watching that heist scene and I'm thinking, oh, it looks cool, but I don't really remember when that happened in the book. And maybe it's just because I read that book a long, long time ago, but there wasn't all that much in the trailer that made me think, oh, I love that in the book. Can't wait to see it on the big screen. But I'm a huge fan of that first Maze Runner movie. I think that movie deserves way more credit than it gets. Quality dipped a little bit with Scorch Trials, but I still think that was fun enough. But that first movie is damn good. So if Westball gets closer to that, I think I'm going to be happy with this one.
I mean, Jeremy, if I hear huge fan of the first Maze Runner movie, I enjoyed it. I like the potential it showed. I'm not rushing out to like buy a jersey representing my love for the first Maze Runner movie, but do you think this one, based on the trailer we just saw, is going to get us back to that first Maze Runner vibes, or is it going to be more scorching? Yeah.
If I was an optimistic, hopeful person, I'd say yes, but I'm not. I'm bled. Adult life has bled me of that to the point of the first one showed a lot of potential, but the second one didn't follow through with that potential. You know, I liked the first Maze Runner surprisingly, to a surprising amount. So after the second one dipped a bit, and it's been so long since the second one, I don't care. I can't care.
Christian, if I was going to give you a test on Maze Runner: The Scorch Trials, how many out of 10 do you think you'd get right?
Oh, I'd fail it. We're miserable. But I think they should change this movie, the title of this film, to, oh yeah, this movie's coming out. Because it's like, no, like you guys said, it's like you see this thing in January, and there's a reason why they had to push it back, obviously, with Dylan O'Brien getting into the accident and being able to, recover the way he did. Look, he was in studio when Perry interviewed him, and the fact, it looks like nothing even happened to the kid, but like but a lot did. And if you do the research on what happened to him, the fact they're going to release this movie, and they should release this movie. They put the time, they put the effort into it. They want to continue the story. It sucks that because of it, everyone's going to forget what happened because the movies weren't that popular in general. The first one, I didn't love the first one. I thought it was okay, but what it did was it introduced us to Dylan O'Brien because he's great in that film. He really is. And I remember watching that movie, going in skeptical, saying, oh, here's another one of these things that they're just trying to get the Hunger Games, or trying to do Twilight, trying to do all these things. And it was definitely a movie that I didn't mind watching, but it made me say, who is this kid? And because of that, maybe there's some kind of action film that comes out of it that no one's going to see this movie. It's not going to do well, and I think the studio knows that. They put it out in January. They kind of have to, and they're hoping, because I think the strategy behind it, normally when they put a movie out in January, it's because it stinks. This is because no one remembers what the hell's going on with it, so you throw it into January, hoping, because nothing else is out, at least it's subpar, it starts to look a lot better because it's in January. So they're hoping that they're going to do okay with it. Maybe the budget wasn't that good, but it seems to be the end of the franchise all the way around.
Yeah, if you're playing the hand that you're dealt, I think January is the best possible landing spot for Maze Runner 3. And I didn't think the trailer looked horrible. It was 1 minute. It was a lot of quick action, most of it taking place on a train. It's hard for me as a viewer to separate reality from fiction, where I'm watching this and I'm like, where did that bad stunt go terribly wrong for Dylan O'Brien? But, I mean, it doesn't look like a bad movie necessarily. It's just that I think we all need to be inundated and refreshed into the Maze Runner lore before we can fully get invested in Maze Runner 3, the death cure. The chat room is on fire already. Very complimentary to everybody up here. They said Christian looked like he actually had breakfast this morning. They said Perry was being very optimistic. People said that I'm turnt every morning, and they said that Jeremy has fantastic hair.
I did have breakfast this morning.
Good for you.
It's good. It's delicious.
Well done. Well, let's move on to our first official
sandwich.
topic on the rundown. Ashley, what went down at the movie theaters?
In a report from Variety, the blockbuster adaptation of Stephen King's novel, has passed The Exorcist to become the highest-grossing horror film domestically of all time. Over the weekend, it pulled in another $30 million, pushing its domestic total past $266 million, well above The Exorcist's $232.9 million. Its third week in theaters was only $9 million behind Kingsman: The Golden Circle, which opened at number 1 in its first weekend with an estimated $39 million. Rounding out the top 5 was the Lego Ninjago movie, which took in an estimated $21.2 million for the number 3 spot. American Assassin at number 4 with an estimated $6.25 million, and Home Again, which took the number 5 spot with an estimated $3.3 million. Mark, what do you think of it becoming the highest-grossing horror movie of all time?
It's something that you can expect because it just went so crazy when it came out, and it got such great reviews. It really scared a lot of audiences. So people want to go have that experience in a theater. I think the community aspect of seeing a horror movie and seeing something that was not just a horror movie, it also had a really good storyline behind it and a known property, the name Stephen King, Scary Clowns, all these things add up to it beating Reagan, who is still, I think, the scariest movie of all time is The Exorcist. Pennywise, you're adorable. You ain't nothing next to Satan inhabiting the body of a 10-year-old girl in Georgetown. But Jeremy, that's really something that a horror movie can come out on the heels of the lackluster summer that we had, particularly with horror movies going into Halloween now. I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, it was good marketing. It was good placement, too, because as you said, as October ramps up, people are going to be like, what do we do? Oh, let's watch it again. Maybe if it's out of theaters at that point, maybe they'll be like, hey, let's bring it back in theaters at some point. So, I mean, it's not a thing that surprises me. I almost don't consider it a horror movie. I mean, I do. It is a horror story, but it's a good movie that concentrated on the characters before the horror. And then the horror was not an afterthought, but it was an accent to the characters that they concentrate on. So I think it should be a note to filmmakers out there of like, here's how you make a horror movie. Don't concentrate on the shitty jump scares. Concentrate on the characters first, and then give your scares second. But I mean, if we're moving on also to Lego Ninjago, that's less than half what Lego Batman made. It's almost 1/3 what Lego Batman
And if you look at
made.
Lego Batman, I mean, a lot of people positively reviewed Lego Batman, but they were looking at the numbers like, ooh, that's not as much money as we expected that movie to make, given how famous Batman is, and coming off the heels of the Lego movie. So Lego Ninjago, $20 million.
Yeah, it's one of these things where you got to look at, you're like, are we going to see a lot more Lego movies, or is it like one of those, all right, we have to pick our Lego properties smarter, or that might be, I don't think it's going to be the end of Lego, but I think we might see some more well-known Lego properties in the future.
Christian, is this the end of Lego?
No, I don't think it's the end, but I think it's exactly what Jeremy's talking about. They're going to reassess what they're releasing, because I think at the time when they probably greenlit Ninjago, it was before Batman even came out. So they're probably, because of the success of the Lego movie, said, wait a minute, Batman's going to crush, and then we'll launch Ninjago, and they started to kind of slate it out. But Batman didn't do as great as they hoped, so they still went forward with Ninjago. I saw it again with my daughter, who, again, almost 6 years old, really enjoyed it. But the biggest problem with this movie, what I thought was different with Batman, because I loved Batman, the Batman Lego movie, and I saw people, adults, kind of cracking up watching it. I saw 3 other people sleeping in the movie theater for Ninjago while the kids were watching it, and even the kids were starting to daze. It was just wasn't great. So $20 million. That's, it's still, I wonder what the budget was on that one. Did we see for Ninjago?
We have not seen officially yet.
But the two bigger stories
Legos?
here, I mean, obviously like you're talking about also, Jeremy, is I think that what I hope happens, we all were worried once because it was such a big hit that they're like, no, clowns are going to be in everything. And I'm hoping that it's exactly what you're talking about, is that now the studios go, well, wait a minute. They really responded to this film because it was a coming-of-age story mixed in with a horror film, and we developed characters, and we cared about it when these creepy things were happening because we were engaged in the characters. I hope that that becomes more of a trend, and that's what studios start to try to do. That's a trend that I would like to see them try to copy. The big story and the disappointing story to me is Kingsman, to be honest with you, because Kingsman, The Golden Circle, as you guys know, I love the first Kingsman. Now, I think overall, I think it opened with 100 million if you go worldwide, which is fine. But domestically, on a movie that was so surprising, I think it made over 130 million, or maybe 140. What did it make domestically for the first one?
The first Kingsman made a crap ton of money.
It made a
Its
lot of
opening
money.
weekend was about comparable to Kingsman 2, but
Right.
obviously it's very different
But
because
it
that
built.
movie was such a big hit and continued
See,
to.
that's the thing, is I don't think that this one's going to build. I think
130 total, yeah.
130 total, and I think that was because it was such a surprise. Nobody knew what it was. Now everybody did. And this is the sequel, on a very popular movie. You should at least had about 60, 65, maybe even 70 million for this movie, and I think it's going to hit hard in week 2.
That's right. It had an $18 million second weekend. That's the original Kingsman. Made $18 million its second weekend, which was just under a 50% drop. Perry, it's going to be very interesting to see if Kingsman: The Golden Circle can hold on to that 50% number, or if it's going to take a deeper dive with the movies coming out this weekend that include American-made and Flatliners. So you could have some audience going away from these movies and towards something that's just released.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm not so concerned with Flatliners taking away from the audience right now, because even though I do really want to see that movie, I haven't seen all that much promotion. I don't know when my screening is yet, so all that doesn't really bode well for the movie. Tom Cruise does have some star power, but I wonder if it's going to be similar to kind of what happened with Lego Ninjago, where I do feel like it didn't work in its favor that we also had Lego Batman this year. I have a feeling that that number is just a little lower because we already got a Lego movie this year. And with Tom Cruise, I think the same could happen this weekend. You know, everyone went out and saw him in The Mummy. People were disappointed. Maybe they're not going to give American Made a shot. But with Kingsman, that was the exact thing that crossed my mind when I was doing my box office predictions. I thought it was going to come closer to 45, because when you think about it, all those people went out and saw Kingsman opening weekend, but what made the first Kingsman so special was how well it held on and how much money it made over such a long period of time. So it would make sense if all those people who saw it at the beginning and loved it, and a lot of those people who saw it over its run wanted to see it opening weekend. So the fact that the number is so close to the original's opening makes me think that it is going to drop fast. But very quickly, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to see something of such a high quality having this title now. And I don't want to take away any of its thunder right now, but if you look on Box Office Mojo, they do adjust the numbers for inflation. And I think if you do that with The Exorcist, it comes close to something like $983 million. So when you compare it, clearly that one does kind of hold that
Yeah, The
record
Exorcist came
to a
out in
degree.
1973. I mean, tickets were like a buffalo nickel.
Well,
it
there's
was
also a
cheaper.
difference, though, too. I mean, to give it credit, because back when The Exorcist came out, there wasn't anything else you could really watch. There wasn't a lot of other mediums. It was like, go see a movie, that's it. There's no internet, there's nothing else, there's no promotion. There's not a lot of other movies that are coming out, too. Didn't have a lot of competition. So I think there's on both sides. You can't take away from what it has
No,
done.
That was the
and
early
it's probably
70s,
going to
kids.
hold on, too.
You want to go see The Exorcist? You want to get drunk or throw stuff off a bridge? That's all we got.
Truth.
That's some serious competition, though. I get it.
I love getting drunk and throwing stuff off a bridge. Well, speaking of throwing stuff off a bridge, friend request. You didn't have any friends this weekend. About $2.5 million.
You had to bring it up.
No.
You had to bring
It's the
it
box
up.
office report. We had to do it.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's a sad movie. That deserved that number. I'm happy it did not make much
Stinks,
more
huh?
than that. Yeah. It really stinks. I mean, we're talking about it that transcends the horror genre and brings together movie lovers.
step
and then
backwards,
then you see friend requests, and it's movies like that
Right.
give the genre a bad name.
Right. It took one step forward, and you gave us 3 steps back. Thanks, kid.
Just like a Paul Abdul song. Battle of the Sexes came out in limited theaters. 21 theaters, I think it opened at $25,000 per average screen, made about $500,000. So I think that's going to have some Oscar implications going forward. We'll wait on that. And in the meantime, Ashley, there's a guy named Luke Skywalker. He lives a little ways away.
Rouse.
It's Mark Hamill's 66th birthday today. How is The Last Jedi celebrating?
while the rest of the Star Wars cinematic universe is
that?
busy shuffling directors and release dates, Rian Johnson has been quietly putting the finishing touches on Star Wars The Last Jedi. The production is now officially done drama-free, and to celebrate, Johnson and his crew took a picture in the edit bay at Lucasfilm. Johnson also confirmed it on Twitter when a fan asked if there was still more VFX and sound, to which he responded, "It's all done." Perry, thoughts on Rian Johnson completing Last Jedi without behind-the-scenes problems?
Cool. I expected him to finish it. It's nice that we don't hear about any drama going on behind the scenes right now. I do feel a little bad that he has finished a Star Wars movie and all the headlines are, he finished and there's no drama. Like, can't we just say that the movie's done and let's be happy? But I really enjoyed some of the behind-the-scenes stuff Rian Johnson has posted. It's kind of just enough that it keeps me pumped and invested and excited, and I appreciate the behind-the-scenes looks, but it's not too much. And I always like when you get to see some of the post stuff behind the scenes, too, because those are kind of the unsung heroes in this equation, so I like that he kind of puts them in the spotlight for a little bit. But yeah, rah-rah. I want to see a trailer. I want to see more footage from this thing, and I can't wait until December.
Yeah, Christian, if Rian Johnson is a major league pitcher, it's like he's throwing a perfect game. When he goes to the dugout, nobody's talking to him now because you don't want to break whatever we have going. The Last Jedi, nobody talking about any behind-the-scenes drama. The movie's finished, and we still have 3 months before it comes out, so it's just being guarded in a vault like it's some sort of national treasure. What do you think about The Last Jedi wrapping production? Do you think we're going to hear anything coming out from its details?
No, I mean, I think the guy, he's been on course to, this is exactly what everyone was talking about when all the drama for all the other movies was going on, is that there have been no hiccups, that Lucasfilm was very happy with everything that he was doing. Remember, this movie was supposed to come out in May, and he was able to, it was pushed back. And this was one was pushed back originally, wasn't it? I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought that it was. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that it was, and he's had a lot of time to work on this movie. He's had his game plan, regardless of whether it was pushed or not. He's had a plan, and he has stuck to that plan. The only thing that I'm still concerned about is why Chewie looks so damn young. Just a little bit. He's a little young. I mean, he looks great. I mean, I want to know who's doing his hair.
He's aged very well.
Backwards, I guess. But
you can
I'm
get
totally
like a just for Wookiees, just dye the hair.
He looks great. That's what I want him to
so
look like.
natural, no one can tell.
But this is fine. It's not a huge story. It's just the fact that it's done. There's no more problems. It's not like right beforehand. Oh my God, they're scattered. It's December. The movie's coming out and it's finished. That's great news for Star Wars fans.
Yeah, but we gotta go. Like now, it's just now I'm just nervous.
In that trailer.
Now here's
that's
the
a
hardest
guarantee on the trailer, by the way.
I'm not talking about the trailer. I'm talking about the hardest thing that Lucasfilm will ever have to do, and it's protect this movie for 3 months, Jeremy, from people on the dark web who are going to get this thing leaked out and sell it for Bitcoin, and the whole world's going to explode. How do we prevent The Last Jedi from getting leaked?
That was absolutely the angle I was going to go when you threw it to me. I was like, you have one job at this point, is to keep this thing in a vault on a hard drive away from the internet, because if this thing is linked to any computer linked to the internet ever, someone's going to get it, hold a gun to its head and be like, we want this much money, or we show it right now. We release it on Pirate Bay or whatever. So, I mean, that's the one thing they got to do. I think he should have actually finished off his phrase to the kid when the kid's like, oh, are there any special effects? And he's like, it's all done. And you still don't have a trailer. Just walked off, because now I'm trying to I'd like to see a trailer. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that it's done. I don't know how Wookiees aged, to Christian's point, but I always felt like they aged a little slower. Maybe he looks a little younger than he did. It's the Curious Case of Chewbacca. Just love it. But yeah.
Chewbacca went through a lot for a Wookiee from the time of A New Hope to the end of Return of the Jedi. You've been in multiple intergalactic battles. You had to live on an ice planet. There was a lot of things. Now, if you're a Wookiee, you get a few years to just relax and chill and hang out with your buddy who just got divorced, and you just get to go off on these fun, crazy adventures. It's less stress and less wear and tear, so I can see how Chewbacca might occasionally go to like a Vegas spa and just kind of regenerate himself.
I love the fact that Christian's on Wikipedia right now looking up how Wookiees age.
How Wookiees age. Oh, boy. All right, we are going to move on to buy or sell. This is the part of the show where Ashley's going to give us a premise, and we will say whether we buy or sell it. And I know somebody at this table is frothing in the mouth looking at that Flash Gordon, but we're not talking about Flash Gordon just yet, because don't worry, buddy. We got a Pitch Perfect 3 trailer. Ashley,
Yes.
let's sing.
Me, 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 me. Well, it's not in the sidebar. I gotta ask you guys about Pitch Perfect 3. Jeremy, did this trailer have you wanting to sing some acapella?
No, well, I already saw the first trailer, so that kind of just shot me in the knee right there. But this is a much better trailer. I buy this trailer as a Pitch Perfect trailer until the end when you see the explosions on the boats. But it was a much better trailer than the first one because it looked like we were actually getting a Pitch Perfect movie.
Ashley asked me if I liked the Pitch Perfect 3 trailer.
Did you like the Pitch Perfect 3 trailer, Mark?
No.
There it is.
No.
That's perfect pitch.
I didn't think it
right
was
there.
good. I think the Pitch Perfect 3 trailer was about as good as my singing voice, and it wasn't a horrible trailer. If you like the bells, I like the idea of the old school versus the new school and trying to come back together. The USO thing is interesting, but by the end of this trailer, I'm so bored. I haven't laughed. I just there's nothing, and then they make it into like an action movie for a second. It seems a little desperate. I think that you might have fun watching this movie. It's coming out around Christmas time, which I think is the best possible landing spot for it. But nothing about this trailer screams that the movie needed to be made, other than the fact that the second one, which I also didn't like that much, crushed at the box office opening weekend. So, Perry, do you need to see this movie after watching this trailer?
I need to see this movie because I really liked the first Pitch Perfect movie, but I'm right there with you. The second one came out, and I was pretty disappointed. It kind of lost all the heart and the grounded nature that the first movie had. So that is why I liked this. I'll buy this trailer. I like this trailer a lot more than the last one because such a small fraction of this one was that stupid action stuff at the end. I just don't understand. That doesn't belong in this movie. The idea at the beginning where it's Haley Steinfeld's character and I'm assuming she's still with the a cappella group, whatever they call it, in school, and they've all gotten older and have real jobs. That's such an interesting, grounded idea to me, being able to move on from college and longing for what you once had that someone you know still has. Why not just stick with that? And then, the whole USO tour thing, I think that does have potential, but it also, yet again, makes it a little too big when I wanted a small character-driven story again.
Christian George Harloff.
I sell the movie, but I buy the trailer because someone was taking notes from the last one and they implemented the notes because they got the first trailer for this movie looked like we're going bigger, we're going action movie. The whole thing seemed like this, just whatever the franchise wasn't before in the first one and second one. Now they went this ridiculous angle with it, and now this one, they're back to basics. They're back to for the most part, except that silly action scene again at the end. But they're trying to cut together a trailer that says, no, look, it's still kind of like the first and second one. It's not going to be. It's going to be exactly what that first trailer pitched. And the jokes weren't that funny. But I think that because the second one made money, this is absolutely something that they should have made. If you're sitting there and you're a studio executive and the second one made the money that it could and the cast can all come back, you make this movie and you take a shot. But I don't think we're going to get anything. I liked the first one a lot. I thought the first one was really funny. I thought it was smaller. There were some over-the-top moments, but it was nothing so... You're totally right about the second one. It lost all its heart, and hopefully they can get that back, but I'm not optimistic, but the trailer was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I will get excited to see the movie for no other reason because John Michael Higgins and Elizabeth Banks are doing the commentary again, and they really, really got me in the first one, and even the second one that I thought, Elizabeth Banks directed, and I didn't like that one nearly as much, but the trailer didn't make me laugh. I like some of their chemistry. I'm not there yet, guys. Maybe I'll get there by Christmas time. Okay, Ashley, enough of me singing. Let's move on to Flash Gordon.
With Kingsman: The Golden Circle in theaters now, director Matthew Vaughn can now focus on other projects he's reportedly up for. One in particular, however, seems to be stalling, and that's his Flash Gordon remake that is set up at 20th Century Fox. Speaking to Collider's own Steve Weintraub, Vaughn revealed that it was the original Guardians of the Galaxy that caused him to rethink his Flash Gordon adaptation, saying, "For me, the only problem with Flash Gordon is Guardians of the Galaxy kind of stole what I would have liked to have done with it. You've got Star Wars, you've got Guardians, so you've got to have your own space opera, but you have to find something that can survive among these two very, very great franchises." Christian, based on Vaughn's comments, do you buy or sell him tackling Flash Gordon as his next project?
I sell that he's going to do it. He's probably not going to do it, and it bums me out because even though, like I said, I love Matthew Vaughn. Regardless of what I thought about the last Kingsman film, I think he's a great director, and I think I would have loved to seen his take. And I don't think I disagree with him. I think that you could have done, well, not with his take, because if his
You don't think
take
the
was,
market's a little oversaturated with stuff like this?
No, I don't, because Guardians did it. I mean, there's a lot of movies that you could, depending on how you did it. You could do Flash Gordon. Remember that people see that 80s movie and they right away associate it with the cheese and everything too. And I love that movie, but it's certainly not something that you're going to watch for a first time now and love it. It was something for the kids of the 80s, but the Flash Gordon itself could be taken very seriously. And they tried it in that stupid television series that came out about 10, 15 years ago, and it was awful. But they could do that. You don't need to do the Guardians version of this. You could make it like a Star Wars version of it. You could. And I think John Carter was an underrated film. I really do. I think that it just, because all the hype behind it, I think it was a lot better than what people give it credit for. But I think you could have done something in the vein of that, but better. I think that Matthew Vaughn's style would have lent that to a franchise of Flash Gordon. So I don't think he's going to do it. I think he's going to work on other things. Hope it's not Kingsman 3. Hope it's something completely different. But this stinks.
Yeah, but you got to be honest with me here, though. I mean, I know you want to see Flash Gordon. I know you want to see Matthew Vaughn do Flash Gordon. From a business sense, from a studio perspective, do you think that it makes sense to greenlight a Flash Gordon movie that you know is going to cost a lot of money, probably in the triple digits, $1 million wise, making the money, and then you have Star Wars movies at least once a year. Mm-hmm. You have all these Guardians and Marvel and DC movies coming out. So is this going to be a Star Wars kind of adventure that everybody's going to get excited about, or is it going to be Valerian?
Well, that's the trick. I mean, that's the trick, is the fact that Valerian it depends on, it's how you cast, it's the writer you get, it's the director you get. Because the casting of Valerian was terrible, the look wasn't well done, the budget was crazy. And so I think that there was a lot of things that didn't work there. It's certainly a risk. There's no doubt about it. But if you can get the right director, this is like anything else, but the perfect writer and a good cast, then yeah, you could have a really bankable franchise, but it's a risk.
You know I'm rooting for you, right?
I am rooting for
Okay.
myself.
I saw Matthew Vaughn doing a Flash Gordon movie. Like Christian said, I never saw Flash Gordon when I was a kid. He made me watch it. He made me come over to his place and watch Flash Gordon a few years ago, and none of it got me at all. When I was watching the Flash Gordon from the 80s movie, all I was thinking was, oh my God, Star Wars could have turned into this so bad. Star Wars was based partially on Flash Gordon serials from the 50s and 60s. So, I love that Flash Gordon was an inspiration for so much of the sci-fi fantasy movies that we have today. And Jeremy, as it stands right now, I think that's where Flash Gordon needs to stay, because I just don't see a market where it's going to be successful. You can make a great movie, and a lot of people out there love Valerian, even though it didn't make any money. I don't see Flash Gordon being successful, even if you can make it good.
Yeah, Flash Gordon is one of those things that if you didn't grow up and if you don't have the nostalgia, don't feel weird for not liking it, because you're kind of not supposed to at this point. But I mean, to Christian's point, it's about the writer and the director. If Matthew Vaughn is the director, because he's a good director, he's a visionary, and that director is saying, I can't do it right now because it's going to be sandwiched and lost in between these two other monsters, I'll take that very talented, good director's mind as the logical stance of, yeah, you probably shouldn't do it right now because I think it would get lost among Star Wars and among Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyone who watches it would be like, Guardians did it better. Probably more Guardians than Star Wars, but I could totally see that. It's like, oh, I wanted to have camp and space and action, and yeah, I can't do that right now because Guardians of the Galaxy. So it is what it is. That is where we are. It's probably going to be a little bit before we get a Flash Gordon movie that you want, because if they do pump out a Flash Gordon movie, it's probably not going to be as good as you want.
Yeah, Perry, a longtime fan of the chat room, Langley Neal, just made a point that Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't really known property, except for huge comic book movie fans, until it came out and crushed. I would argue that Guardians of the Galaxy having the MCU involvement and the backing of Marvel, but even that movie was a giant risk. So is the risk worth sinking a lot of money into Flash Gordon if it doesn't have the backing of a huge cinematic universe behind it?
Coming from someone who doesn't have the same attachment to Flash Gordon, it seems like too big of a risk to me, because, I mean, we're talking about it becoming one of the biggest box office openings of September, one of the highest grossing R-rated horror movies, and it goes back to what I said before, where it appeals to horror fans, but it has to go that extra step to bring in wide audiences. And that's a movie that didn't even have that big of a budget. Compared to something like this, you would need to get people invested that aren't just Flash Gordon fans. And Right now, at this point in time, I don't see that happening. But should they make a movie and should they make it really well, there's no reason to think that that couldn't at least be a possibility. It's just, that's the nature of the industry. When you make a movie of that scale, you're putting in just so many resources. And in my mind, it doesn't seem worth it on this right now, but I really do appreciate him being honest about it and that kind of look behind the curtain, because that is something we're constantly talking about on this show, is the idea of people finding something that has worked really well in the past, people finding something that is working really well now and copying and pasting. So it's nice to hear him say, oh, I did really want to do this at a time, but I'm reacting to what's out there right now. I know I need to make this something special and different, and maybe that's what's holding him back right now. So good for him.
Christian, a couple rapid fire Flash Gordon questions. I know you love the old one. I know that you really want a new one. If they make a new one, should the hero be the quarterback of the New York Jets?
No.
If they make a new one, should they have the Queen song in it somewhere?
Maybe.
Should Max von Sydow return?
No.
And we move on to our next buyer. So that was a lot of pressure on your end, Moira.
But I crushed it.
Let's talk about I Love Dogs. Is that a trailer or an actual place we can visit?
A little bit of both. The first trailer for Wes Anderson's stop-motion animated feature, I Love Dogs, has been released online. The film marks Anderson's return to the genre following his Oscar-nominated Fantastic Mr. Fox, and takes place in a near-future Japan, where after an outbreak of dog attacks, all dogs have been banished to live on a garage-filled island, the Isle of Dogs. A young boy ventures to the island in search of his own dog, coming across a pack of alphas in the process. The movie is set to hit theaters on March 23rd, 2018. Perry, buy or sell the first trailer for Isle of Dogs?
Oh, it's a big buy for me. And it's an even bigger buy because every time someone says Isle of Dogs, I hear I love dogs. And I'm like, yes, I do love dogs. That's part of the reason why I'm going to love this movie. I'm a big fan of Fantastic Mr. Fox, too. I love what Wes Anderson does with stop motion animation. He had great voice casting in that. It seems like the same is going to be true here. And I really love the concept. And, you know, it's a pretty extreme scenario, but as someone who is a dog lover, I already get the sense that I'm instantly going to connect to that hero in terms of him making this crazy journey to find his lost dog on this island. I love the group mentality already that I'm getting from that one pack of dogs. And the score in this is great, too. It adds a really nice, unique touch to it. You know, maybe it's just because I have Lego Ninjago fresh in my mind, but right after seeing that and then jumping into something like this, I need something with a different touch and a different flavor to it, and I really like Wes Anderson's style, so I can't wait to see more of this.
Yeah, I buy this trailer wholeheartedly, and coming from me, I'm not a huge Wes Anderson fan. I didn't see Fantastic Mr. Fox, but you give me this cast, and not just because I love dogs, and I see that it's an island full of dogs, and we have this adventure that we have to go on with all these different dogs. It's just, there's something about this pair that seems like it has crossover potential. It comes out in March of next year. I think that this could be a movie that obviously gets adults, but kids might be able to glom onto and go along for the ride. I don't think it's going to pander to children, but I think that it might be for all ages here. And the vocal talent, Jeremy, I mean, you have the Wes Anderson, you know, the veterans. You have your Bill Murrays and Tilda Swinton and Jeff Goldblum. You also have Yoko Ono doing the voice, Bob Balaban doing the voice. I'm a little mixed on Yoko Ono's career, but I want to see Yoko Ono have a big part in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if it's – just look at that picture behind us. That thing on the right would scare me as a child. I don't know that that's the image I want if I'm a kid. So it's definitely made for adults, but I think kids, they might be able to latch onto it too. Say what you want. I mean, Wes Anderson is one of those people, he does unique movies. It's like, I mean, if you see a trailer, see his movie, it's generally speaking, except for Noah, like Darren Aronofsky, where you're like, that director did that movie. It's just absolutely apparent. And if you want to see unique movies, you know, like, you support them. Otherwise, you're going to get, you know, the friend request movie. You're going to get a lot of that. And Wes Anderson's the only guy I know who can make a movie that's ultimately a doggy dystopian future and get Perry that excited about it. It's just like, he's the only person I know that can do that.
Christian, will Isle of Dogs be better than Friend Request?
Yes. Even if it didn't come out, it would still be better. But it's a soft buy on the trailer for me. I think that the reason why I'm buying it is because I love dogs, and also because Wes Anderson. Excuse me, I do want to see the film. I think that I'm curious it could turn out being one of those movies that I leave very excited about it. I was kind of bored by the trailer for the most part, but I think that the actual trailer itself, the reason why I said, well, it's Wes Anderson, I did like Fantastic Mr. Fox. and the cast is incredible. But yeah, it didn't. At one point, I tuned out and I came back in. I was like, I don't know, maybe that's just because of ADD, or maybe it's just because it just didn't capture me the way that maybe it should have.
I'm going to go over to the news desk because between the two, Wendy and Ashley, there's at least 2 dogs that they own. So, Wendy, I'm going to go to you
combined,
first.
We have 4.
We have 4 combined.
Do you really?
Yeah, I have 2
well,
and she's got 2.
I was aware of 2. Now they've doubled. What do you guys think of the Isle of Dogs trailer?
Don't hate me, but I didn't get to watch it. I opted to watch Pitch Perfect over this one, and I feel sorry for myself for not watching.
You shouldn't, because I watched
Dogs.
maybe like the first 10 seconds in the pre-production meeting, and maybe it was the ADD or maybe the trailer sucked. I read the premise and I was really excited about it, but I think stop motion animation is fascinating. It must take forever, and I think the whole idea is just amazing. But it made the dogs look scary. Like it made the dogs look scary. But I think the premise is going to pull at my heartstrings because I love dogs.
We love dogs.
Yeah, every time I watch a stop motion animation picture, like it takes 5 or 10 minutes for me to be like, how the hell did they do this?
Yeah.
This must be so tedious to make. Then I get into the adventure. I think that's going to happen with Isle of Dogs. So hopefully we all enjoy with our respective pups. All right, let's go on to our last buy or sell. It's about The Dark Knight.
This past Saturday, September 23rd, was officially deemed Batman Day, and former Justice League director Zack Snyder kicked it off by declaring Ben Affleck as the best Batman ever on screen. Posting his thoughts on the Vero app, Snyder wrote, "Happy Batman Day, Batfleck is the best Batman ever." Mark, buy or sell Zack Snyder's comments about Batfleck being the best Batman ever?
I appreciate Zack Snyder stumping for his boy there, but gonna have to sell that one. I don't have Ben Affleck. I really like Ben Affleck as Batman, for the record. I thought he was great as Batman in Batman v Superman. Very excited to see what he can bring to Justice League. The best Batman of all time for me, it's between Adam West and Michael Keaton. That's where I go, so I'm going to have to sell that Batfleck is in the conversation. If he continues to make Batman movies, he's got a shot. There's potential there. You know, Jeremy, it might just be that if you grew up with Joe Montana, you have a hard time putting Tom Brady as best quarterback of all time.
I think that might be what it is. I feel like Adam West is like the Flash Gordon of Batmans. You know, it's like if you grew up with him, then you love him. And if you watched him now for the first time, you'd be like, that's Batman. I think Ben Affleck was a great Batman. The main gripe is that he killed people. There are a couple of things that I come to grips with. Well, there are a couple of things that are realities. One I've recently come to grips with, or 2 things are the Joker's had backstories in comic books, and Batman's killed people in the comic books. So Ben Affleck's Batman is great and very representative of a version of Batman.
Hey, look, man, I don't follow you for comic books. I follow you for movies, okay? Harry Nemiroff, your take on whether Ben Affleck is the best Batman of all time.
I sell this comment, and I also sell his little spelling error in there. It's so stupid. It's just one word. But why didn't he just write IS instead of IA? That's not
no
important,
edit
though.
on Twitter.
It was one sentence, but I sell it because kind of like what you were saying before. I grew up watching the Michael Keaton movies over and over and over. Michael Keaton as Batman will always have a very special place in my heart. I greatly admire what Ben Affleck did with the role. Same thing with Christian Bale. But Keaton's my Batman.
Christian George is Ben Affleck. You're Batman. Be controversial.
Well, I'm talking about the story first, so I'm going to buy his comments because that's him supporting.
Ooh, I see what you
That's
did
him
there. Nicely
supporting
done.
the Batman that was in his movies. So for him, there's more than just seeing it on the screen. It's his experience in general of watching Batman come to life, his vision of Batman coming to life. So I buy Zack Snyder's comments because that's what he felt. That's what Batman meant to him, and being able to see Affleck pull it off. And remember, all the scrutiny and everyone kind of saying that Affleck shouldn't be Batman. A lot of people, myself included, when it first came out, and Affleck proved a lot of people wrong. That what he did. I don't think he's the best Batman of all time. I don't think he's had enough body of work to do that. I also don't think Keaton is. I think that Bale is our clear winner because I think 3 movies, even if you didn't love the 3rd movie, the full trilogy on a better body of work as Batman. Keaton had 1 good movie. Sorry, 1 good movie, and then you've got Keaton was great, and he's another guy. That's Batman, and then he was an incredible Batman. I would go Bale, then Keaton, and then Adam West, and then Ben Affleck.
Yeah. I still look forward to Justice League, man. I cannot wait to see that movie. And we want to remind you guys that, well, we're not screening Batman this week, but we are screening, in my opinion, the most fun movie of all time. That is at the ArcLight in Hollywood this Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Back to the Future. We're doing a Q&A before the screening, then the movie, and then a meet and greet with some of your favorites from here at Collider afterwards at the top bar. Get tickets at Collider.com. If they're still available, head to Collider.com right now for more information, because this baby is going to sell out. Come, get back to 1985, 1955, and save the clock tower with your favorite personalities from Collider. All right, we are going to move on to Mailbag, and I want to remind you guys at the end of this show, we're going to save some time for your live Twitter questions. Go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider Video, and you can email us anytime, collidervideo@gmail.com. We will either read your question on Movie Talk or we'll save it for our weekend show Mailbag. Ashley, you all weekend, you just wanted to read this particular email because it meant so much to you.
Yeah, I love Disney. David writes, hello, Collider crew. With all the major news with Disney doing their own streaming service, I read an article saying that if Disney wanted to break even, they need to get at least 32 million subscribers. Now my question, is that something that can be done in the first year, or would it take longer to reach that goal?
2 questions, David. How much does the streaming service cost, and what do I get in that streaming service? Do I get the Star Wars movies that I know I'm going to get, or do I get a Star Wars original series? Do I get the Marvel stuff, or do I get some sort of cool Marvel original series? Do I get the Disney things that I know my kids want to watch, or do I get some Fantasia spinoff where Mickey goes off on some crazy wizard adventure? That's what I need to know before I can tell you if it's going to have 32 million subscribers in its first year. It's a tall order. If there's any company that can do it, I think it's going to be Disney. Christian, they got a couple years to rev this baby up. Do you think they're going to hit that magic number?
Oh, you just said it. It just depends. You've got to give us everything. You've got to give us absolutely everything. You've got to announce some brand new series, some crazy series, whether it's Marvel series, Star Wars series. You've got to do so much to not just your past catalogs. That's not going to do it. And even some of these other original shows that they will do, you've got to go above and beyond. I have to know that I'm getting all the properties that you have. I need to know. And the other thing is, as far as when the movies come out on Blu-ray, how quick do you get them on the streaming service? You know, so when Lion King, the live action, is done being in theaters and then it hits, do you get it first, or does everybody get it? I mean, it's a lot of questions that are going to be asked for the subscribers, but it's possible. They have the best properties right now, a lot of different properties. So if they're able to give the audience all of that stuff that they have, like all of it, then it's possible.
Jeremy, I think you and I are both guilty of this, where you hear Disney's going to have their own streaming service. We're like, we're good. We already own Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then we're like, but if they have an original series about Boba Fett and Jabba the Hutt hanging out, it's like, oh, God, now I got to get that streaming content.
Well, I will say this. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and I haven't subscribed to whatever I need to watch the new Star Trek Discovery show. So, I mean, in the end,
holding out.
I'm telling you, man, my cheap crocodile arms, it's just the way it is. I'll say 32 million is a very specific number. We don't know what this thing's going to cost yet, right? The streaming service?
Nope.
So, in order to quantify it, it'll take 32 million people. Whoever said that has to at least believe in his head that he knows how much it's going to cost, because that's just so I just feel like that's a number that's thrown out there. So I'm going to like bring it into me and say, nah, I'll hold up. You're right. If there was some sort of underground seedy Boba Fett bounty hunter show, I'd subscribe for the duration of that show, and then I'd pull it like I do HBO and Game of Thrones. And then when the next season comes out, I'd resubscribe and then pull it. I would just do that.
Or, I mean, it could be any Star Wars show, pair, and I think that would bring in a whole new level of subscribers. It could be Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine pulling a Harloff and grilling chicken on the highway and having possum fights in his backyard. There could be a lot of Star Wars streaming shows that people are like, I don't care about any other Disney content, but I want that, so I'm going to pay for the whole thing.
Yeah, if any company can pull this off, it's probably Disney. I read some of those reports. It comes from some sort of financial analysis, and it seems like whoever came up with that probably has some sense of what it's going to cost them to do certain things. All that original content is going to cost an insane amount of money. Then they also lose all of those where they licensed their content before. All the money that came in from that is poof, now gone. So if they really do need 30 million subscribers, that's a big number, especially when you consider, I think Netflix crossed 100 million earlier this year. That's after however many years of building their own catalogs and their original catalogs and just the name getting out there. And then I think if you combine CBS All Access and Showtime, they as a combined amount, it's $4 million. So when you keep those numbers in mind, it is clearly a very tall order. If any company can do it, it's Disney, but they got to have one heck of a Star Wars show, in my mind, to get anywhere close to that.
I'm saying $10 to $12 a month, and then we'll see what the mouse wants to pump out for all of our steaming eyeballs to witness in 2019.
The number that this analysis was working with for the cost of the subscription service was $9 per month.
$9.99, I bet.
And do you get a discount at Star Wars Land, the parks?
You probably don't.
You should.
All right, let's move on to Twitter questions. Wendy Lee, who, if anybody has discounted parking at Disneyland, it would be her. So carpool with her to go to Star Wars Land in 2019. What are they saying in Twitter today?
This is true. Well, this one comes from Chris Woodburn, who writes, "Why is Lucasfilm making us wait this long for a Last Jedi trailer?"
Lucasfilm is making us wait because I think that they have a very specific marketing play in mind, and I think that it's different than their strategy was for The Force Awakens. Because when The Force Awakens came out, you had to continually remind everybody, hey, Star Wars is back. It's new Star Wars. You're going to love it. Check this out. Look at all these cool things. The Last Jedi, we saw how much money The Force Awakens made. We saw the appetite that everybody has for new Star Wars movies. So with The Last Jedi, they can take their time. They don't want to give away too many story points. So I don't think you're going to see as much footage as we saw for The Force Awakens leading into it. And Christian, it is that kind of tantric experience that all Star Wars fans wrestle with, but I'm enjoying the ride right now. How about you?
It's not much different from what The Force Awakens did. I mean, the one thing that Force Awakens did differently was that trailer that they gave you in 2014 and the Thanksgiving trailer. That was the first one you saw. We didn't get one of those for The Last Jedi, and you really didn't need one because that one was the reintroduction to Star Wars back into the public. That's what that was meant for. And then you got the Star Wars Celebration trailer for The Force Awakens. You got the Star Wars Celebration trailer for this one. Then you got the football trailer for The Force Awakens, and then you get the football trailer for this one. It's really the same strategy, to be honest, minus a little difference. I do think you're going to get international trailers the way that you did, and you'll get a little bit more footage, but for the most part, it's kind of the same.
You think we're going to see as much footage as we saw from Force Awakens?
Yeah, because international. I think that's the majority of footage that you saw, a lot of this different stuff, was from the international trailers. And they have a different marketing strategy to other countries than they do here. And because of the internet, you're going to pick them up and we're going to see them here. So, yes, you will see. They're not going to release the same exact trailers here that they will internationally.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I just don't think as much new footage is going to be shown in The Last Jedi, but I would be all for that. I mean, there's one movie that I don't mind walking into a little blind. It's Star Wars The Last Jedi because it just feels more mysterious than The Force Awakens did. Is that me reading too much into it, Perry? Or do you think that there's something to that?
I definitely think we're going to end up getting the same amount of footage just because that is what you need to support a marketing campaign. And in terms of us waiting, I mean, Christian, you're kind of spot on. This was pretty much the same schedule to a point that we had with The Force Awakens. And you know, they're going to do what's in their best interest to promote the movie, and they're going to make us wait because they can make us wait. I mean, we're all sitting here foaming at the mouth for the next trailer. It's going to come on that October date, I believe, and we're going to love it. And then they're going to start to roll out all the international stuff. And then you're going to have folks out there on the internet who cobble it all together and say, look at this string out of all the stuff we've seen. And we're going to wind up in the same position. Hopefully it doesn't include anything that feels like too much.
Yeah, Jeremy, they got us right where they want us. I mean, even if they don't show the Last Jedi new trailer on Monday Night Football, October 9th, they make us wait 2 more weeks. Is anybody going to be like, you know what? I'm not paying to see this movie now.
Right? No, I feel like, though, for the Force Awakens, we already had the final trailer at this point, didn't we? Or maybe
no. I mean, it was an October date.
It was in October
that we got on Monday Night Football. It just to me anyway, the way that I look back on it, I just feel like we were much more aware of things that we might see in Force Awakens than we are in The Last Jedi.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's also the person who tweeted the question is probably springboarding off the, I don't want to say rumor, but Mark Hamill alluded to the trailer being on Thor Ragnarok. So that gives us November. So, I mean, that's...
No. Hamill said that. He said, watch Monday Night Football.
Well, fuck. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Sorry, buddy.
That's it.
Look, Jeremy, the term eye candy, I don't throw around for just anybody.
Yeah.
Okay?
How's my hair? That's what I contribute to the show.
Your hair is
it good?
Fantastic.
That's good.
I will tell you this. If they run the trailer on Monday Night Football in October, I think you will see it. during Thor Ragnarok in November, and then we all get to be happy when we see the movie December 15th. All right, let's do one more quick question and call it a day.
Okay, this one comes from Bill. It's a fun one. So he says, pick a horror monster to fight a comic book hero and have them fight. Mine would be Batman versus Pennywise.
A horror monster to fight a comic book movie. Now, was it Batman versus Pennywise?
Yeah.
That's tough.
Oh, did you see that trailer? Someone tweeted it at me where they mashed up Batman and Pennywise. Cut the two trailers together. It was pretty damn well
awesome.
done.
Did Blade ever fight? I know he fought vampires. Did he ever actually fight Dracula?
Yes.
Who won? Blade?
I believe he's fought Dracula. I believe. What do I know? But I also think he won.
Yeah, okay. I don't see Frankenstein winning a lot of these, or Frankenstein's monster winning a lot of these battles against a superhero. So I think that your only option here is going to be the Wolfman. And I think that the Wolfman is definitely at a disadvantage against a super strong character like Hulk, even though I'd love to see Hulk out, then the Wolfman when the moon is full, because the Wolfman could bite Hulk, and then Hulk might win the fight, but then Hulk would also turn into Were-Hulk.
I like it. I would love to see Were-Hulk. I do believe in Blade Trinity, Drake was supposed to be Dracula. That's why they called him Drake.
Oh, they called him Drake. They updated his name to have a cool kid 90s
and they updated his look, and it was actually quite terrible. I would say the girl from The Exorcist versus Ghost Rider, because it's essentially the devil versus Ghost Rider, but he could just beat her ass with the chain. I think that'd be good.
I like that matchup. Ghost Rider seems a little too emotional. I think that Reagan, I like Reagan.
You think Reagan would kill him?
In a TKO there. Perry, what's your matchup?
I think I would take Freddy Krueger against just about any hero,
I
just
like
because his style of attack is so different, and it's like nothing we've ever seen one of these characters face before. So could you imagine one of them trying to fight in that dreamscape type universe?
No, I mean, as somebody who's running on very low sleep as it is, I'm like one of those teenagers in Elm Street. It is not fun. I do not feel prepared to get in a battle. Christian, movie monster, comic book, what's the matchup?
Xenomorph versus Vision, because it'd be interesting. That's it.
Oh, no analysis?
Not necessarily. It's too late.
Just because.
Way too late.
Facehugger gets on Vision thing. You think that little thing out of this could work. See? All right. Thank you guys for tuning into this action-packed episode of Collider Movie Talk. I want to thank the panel up here with me. First of all, the great-haired, leather-jacketed, trailer know-how, Mr. Jeremy Johns.
All of my qualities. You can find me at Jeremy Johns on YouTube, Twitter, rest of the internet, making stuff up as I go along. You can find my show Awesome-tacular on the Go 90, where Ellis and I, we play games. Christian and I, we talk Star Wars. It's a lot of fun.
He's the Indiana Jones of Twitter, chasing his fortune and glory. Miss Perry Nemiroff, mother of Dewey. Where can the kids find you?
I need to just adopt that as my official title from now on. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at PNMRough. Go back, watch this Saturday's episode of Collider Behind the Scenes and Bloopers, because we broke a lot of stuff, and it was fun.
Yeah, and check out Perry's YouTube channel for movie reviews, then also for watching her just run circles around Roca doing CrossFit. That was impressive to watch.
Oh, it was fun.
Christian Harloff, when you are not having possum fights in your backyard, where can the kids find you?
You can find me at Christian Harloff, Twitter and Instagram. And remember to submit your brackets. Today is the last day for the Schmodown Singles Tournament. Schmodown 2017 at gmail.com. But include your name and your address. So if you're already did this before, you got to just forward back over, put your name and address, because I caught a little skunk doing something over the weekend, and now we have to do that. Otherwise, it will not count. Put your name and your address, forward it over, do it today, and that's the final straw.
Maybe that little skunk did a favor for everybody out there who didn't pick baby carrots going all the way. Pick me in your bracket. You will not be disappointed. Ashley Mova, I know you got me in your bracket.
Yeah, I do. Now I kind of want to know the drama, though. I'm worried about this skunk situation.
A lot of skunks, a lot of raccoons, a lot of possums.
You said skunk, didn't you?
Yeah, all three of them. They all.
Well, no, he had a metaphorical skunk and a literal
now
possum
I want to know about
raccoon.
the metaphorical skunk.
Yeah.
Anyways, you guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
She is a metaphorical and literal Twitter gatekeeper. The one, the only Miss Wendy Lee Zaney.
Well, you won't find me sending in my brackets because it's all broken by now. You can find me on Twitter,
Broken.
Instagram,
It hasn't even
Snapchat.
started yet. Starts tonight.
It's broken.
Easy guy. Oh, look at what you did to our gatekeeper. Hey, Wendy,
She's done.
broken. Send it in tonight.
Send it in tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, That's all we got today. We'll do better tomorrow. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.